of dollars that were bottlenecked through bureaucratic red tape to nonprofits throughout the city. The mayor said the backlog was a remnant of previous administrations and a show that they weren't functioning as efficiently as his.
We have been wasting taxpayers' dollars. I cannot say that enough. So, what is my signature issue? Get my government to be efficient, productive, and produce a better product than we have produced with taxpayers' dollars.
Officials said that some of these nonprofits have been waiting upwards of 2 years to get paid and that their employees were disproportionately affected in Black and brown communities. Brad Leonard agreed with the mayor today, saying that this was one priority both of them wanted to tackle going into office.
One area where we both knew that was true was in getting our nonprofit human service providers paid on time. Our seniors need cooling centers and places that they can go so they're not getting heat stroke. A ton of those are nonprofit organizations. The price of food is up as a result of inflation, and more people through the pandemic, but still today, are relying on emergency food providers, overwhelmingly nonprofit human service organizations.
City officials say they still have 1/3 of nonprofit contracts to pay out, but that they're hopeful they'll get through them quickly. Kelly Mena in the Bronx, back to you.
According to a report from the real estate firm CBRE, commercial leases are right now over 2% behind the 5-year monthly average. Availability of units, however, is still high at more than 19%. So joining me to talk about this, John Lahr, Vice Chairman of CBRE, the world's largest commercial real estate firm with a huge presence here in the city. So John, let's talk about this report of yours. And it comes at the same time that we got a report from this other, from VTS, which is basically a data platform for real estate data crunching. And this measures how many people are looking into and shows 15% decline. So they say demand's now at 68% of its pre-pandemic pace. That's not great. Sounds pretty dire. What are you seeing? And what are you telling us?
Of course, it's great to be here live as opposed to Zoom. Hopefully, we have more opportunities to do that. Look, the VTS data is one data point amidst a sea of data points to help you figure out what's really going on with the market. It's helpful for us to know, but we see that while we're showing space in the buildings that we represent. That's generally, I'll call it a seasonal reduction. June is always going to be low. And look, we've certainly had a few headwinds over the last number of months to soften some of the number of space stores. But one of the other statistics that we follow very closely is how many tenants are in the market. And we track very carefully the number of tenants in the market. In fact, the number of tenants in the market are about 9% higher than what they were pre-pandemic. So we're pretty comfortable that there remains a backlog of people. They're just acting a little bit more slowly at the moment.
And so talk about where you see this market going. You know, we hear every day from the mayor, and there's a big poll recently on crime being a big issue for people coming back, on the subways running on time, being safe. What does that do for your industry right now?
Well, bad news abounds, and it's obviously a story that a lot of people like to follow on. We've got a lot of headwinds since the beginning of the year, and it's not just the crime in the subways, and there's the whole concept of the back to work. There's inflation has gone up, interest rates have gone up, the stock market's gone down. So there's a lot of negative stories out there. At the same time, we're seeing some extraordinary things happen with tenants taking space. Manhattan West is getting very close to being filled up. Tishman Speyer has a building on the Spiral, along with Brookfield and their success. Tishman Speyer has signed a big lease with HSBC. So there's a lot of good stories in the middle of some of these bad stories.
And the buildings that you're talking about and the development projects you're talking about are these Class A, modern, beautiful buildings. They attract a certain kind of tenant. Is that what's drawing the companies here?
Well, I don't know if that's what's drawing the companies here, but that is certainly capturing the vast majority of the demand. And I think that has been a mind shift of tenants around the country who have looked at real estate as not being a commodity to house a workforce at the lowest cost, but something that's important to, have your employees work in a great and exciting environment. New York City, since we opened up in January 21, 71% of the space leased has been in either new buildings, fully renovated buildings, or it's called buildings of first class.
Well, so what does that do to the humongous stock that the city has of buildings that don't fall into that category? There's been a big push to convert a lot of that real estate from commercial to residential to help alleviate the housing crisis. Is that realistic?
Look, there's going to be a lot of bad stories. There are going to be a lot of good stories, but there are going to be a lot of bad stories. I don't think, as a general trend, this conversion to residential from the vast majority of the commercial buildings is really a viable way of providing housing, right? And I do think that a lot of what we're seeing in terms of the dearth of office leasing amongst larger companies is somewhat temporary. But I think that, there will be some individual properties that are transformed into residential the way downtown did after 9/11. But I think as a general rule, it's not really likely to happen. Look, we need low-cost housing and quality housing for, what we consider, the cops and the firemen and the service workers. And we need quality and low-cost housing for, some of the more poor people. But we also need quality housing for young people that want to come here from Indiana University or Vermont or some other school to make their living, to make New York City, what Walt Whitman said, the gathering place for the best and the brightest and those who want to achieve. And so there's a whole other discussion about residential. But in terms of commercial, I'm not sure that there's going to be a mass aggregation towards transforming.
John Wall, thanks so much for coming with your insight. We really appreciate it. And stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
The great experiences you have in here and even out here all started here. Because the best customer experience always leaves a great impression. GMC, awarded #1 in sales satisfaction by J.D. Power. Step up to GMC with 0% financing on these GMC models. We are professional grade GMC.
Some things in life are worth waiting for. A new heart shouldn't be one of them. And with the most innovative approach in transplants, we can find and deliver hearts to patients that other hospitals overlook, making us the #1 heart transplant center with the shortest wait times in the Northeast.
Three sisters, the drummer, the dribbler, and the daydreamer. The dribbler's getting hands-on practice with her Chase First Banking debit card. The drummer's making savings simple with a tap. Round of applause. And this dreamer, well, she's still learning how to budget, so mom keeps her alerts on full volume. Hey, it's true. And that's all thanks to Chase First Banking. Freedom for kids, control for parents. One bank with tools for both, all with no monthly service fee. Chase, make more of what's yours.
The 201 horsepower turbocharged Kia Forte GT. Finally, reason to wear those aviator sunglasses you've had in the glove compartment all this time. Get 2.9% APR for up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2022 Forte.
their picture of the day. They're keeping cool and looks like having a lot of fun. That's on the East River. Remember, when you share a picture with us, post it on social media, use the hashtag NY1Pic, and it might end up right there. Eric, beautiful evening on the water.
Yeah, I mean, even there, you know, you saw a lot of cloud cover. It's pretty much what we have now, but just because it's cloudy doesn't mean it's cool. We have warm temperatures and quite a bit of humidity around, too. So it's a warm, humid afternoon. It's mostly cloudy. It's just not all that wet, but there is still the risk for some showers through the rest of the afternoon. And I think the risk for rain is actually highest tonight.